Hey, and hi, and welcome to
Hi, and welcome to puberty.
This is the AT Banter podcast, a balanced and entertaining look at assistive technology, accessibility, and its importance in people's lives. Join Rob Minot, Ryan Fleury, and Steve Barclay as they banter with people around the world about anything and everything regarding assistive technology and the disability community. Now, on with the show.
Hey, and welcome to another episode of AT Banter.
Banter.
I am
Drunk?
No, I'm 14 again. I am Rob Minot, and today I am joined by Ryan Fleury
Hey.
and Mr. Steve Barclay.
Howdy.
And here we are.
We are, indeed.
Here.
We are because we are.
I can tell because of this microphone in my face.
That's right. How is everybody today?
Not bad for a Monday.
Yeah, awake, alive, everything required for a Monday.
Yeah, it's we don't often record on Mondays, probably for very good reason, for the reason of that you can see in that intro.
Which you're going to keep.
Probably. Probably, why
that's
not?
blooper reel material right
Yep,
there.
Exactly.
What's been going on? What's new and exciting, boys?
I think I just received my Google Home Mini.
Yeah.
Yeah, you better
I
open
saw
that
that.
box.
Yeah,
We're
maybe.
dying to know here, man.
We'll open it up after the show. We'll do an unboxing show.
Oh boy. Such a nerd.
Okay.
Unboxing
I need
videos.
content. More content.
Yes, the sound of you opening a box is that's some
You can describe it.
that's some sweet
You
content.
can
Oh,
describe
I
it.
am looking forward to describing you opening a box.
He's got the knife. He's
Knife?
slitting the tape.
Don't need a knife.
He's going to gnaw it
Got
open.
teeth. That's right.
Chew his way into
Okay,
that box.
there's
Yep.
one flap. There's the other flap.
It's a Google Home Mini.
Oh my God, it's a box, and it's got a picture of a Google Home Mini on
It's
it. It's got some
exciting.
shrink wrap on it.
Yep.
That's when you need the teeth. Is that damn shrink
Yeah,
wrap?
we actually don't need it to be a Google Home Mini. We can.
We just make it up.
Yeah, we can just make it up as we go.
It's true.
You know the packaging that I hate though is that like like headphones come in. Like
Oh,
that
that hard
really hard
plastic.
plastic that you
Yeah.
literally need like garden shears to like
And then you
cut through.
You cut yourself trying to open it up.
Yeah, or you
and
cut through the cable or something.
Mm.
Yeah, I've done that.
It's just crappy.
I hate that. I don't know why they continue to do that. Can they not find a better way to package stuff like that? Like,
They probably could.
yeah, I think they could. I just think they're lazy and they won't.
Or it's cheap.
Yeah, cheap and lazy. Thanks a lot. Well, we're in a mood today.
Barely. Let's take on every industry, shall we?
That's right. Well,
Right.
listen, if you're packaging something and I literally cannot open it without a tool, you failed.
It's well packaged.
You failed. No, it's not well packaged. It's terrible unless you build the tool into the packaging that I can remove. Because what if I go to London Drugs, I buy a new set of headphones, and I want to use those headphones on the way home? I'm screwed. I have to go buy another tool.
You can ask them to open it for you.
Well, that's embarrassing.
But don't you have teeth?
Yeah, well, exactly. It's just like now all of a sudden I'm a needy. I have to go above and beyond just to service my needs.
Let's not talk about your neediness.
Hey, Ryan, did you upgrade to the new Windows?
I did. Got this computer that we're recording on is upgraded to the Fall Creators Update, and so is my laptop.
And how are you finding it so far?
Just the same as the last version was. Seems to be very stable.
Yep.
Upgrade went flawlessly. So, yeah, no issues so far. I was reading Brian Harchin, his Twitter feed this morning,
Yeah.
who we've had on the show. And he was saying the only thing that went south with his update was his system access is totally screwed up. So I don't know why that is, because I haven't tried mine yet, but maybe they just haven't updated it to work with the Fall Creators Update yet. Not sure.
Could be.
but I'll have to check it out. Have you updated yet?
I don't believe. Well, actually, no. I shouldn't say that because I do know that my computer that I have in the living room did restart over the weekend at some point.
Well, it shows
overnight.
it shows up under Windows Update. It shows up in there.
Yeah, I don't even pay attention to any of that.
Yeah.
I think it did. I think it did.
Yeah.
So
Well, if you go to the run command and type in WinVer,
yep.
it'll say 1709.
Okay.
That's how you know it's the Fall Creators Update.
Okay. Maybe I'll go home and take a look at that and just make sure. Off the top of your head, is there anything in there that is new and shiny that wowed you, or is it?
I really haven't taken any time to dig in and take a look. I've seen a couple people post something where just about anywhere in Windows you can type, you can actually dictate. So that's something I might play around with a little bit.
It seems like they're doing these smarter these days.
Mm-hmm.
Even from a year and a half ago when we first launched and we were lamenting over the forced Windows 10 updates. I don't know, these updates don't seem to be as big of a deal now as they used to be in terms of disrupting AT software.
Well, I think one of the big things that they've done was they introduced the insider builds. So you can join a fast ring, a slow ring, or a technical release or a release candidate ring, which is kind of like beta testing software is what it is. But,
Right.
There's hundreds of thousands, if not more, people in each of these different rings that are banging away at the software every day and sending feedback back to Microsoft. So by the time they release it, it should be pretty well vetted.
Did you see the release from the press release from Freedom Scientific about Edge?
Yeah, don't get me started
Wait,
on
what?
Edge.
No, what's going on? Tell me.
Well, Microsoft with this release broke Edge, and as a result, JAWS isn't going to work properly with it.
Oh no.
Yeah.
There's chunks of it that are working with it. You actually have to manually go into JAWS settings and enable Edge support. But Edge has been out for 2 years now, and I just don't understand why everybody's focusing so much energy on Edge when most of us have already switched over to Chrome. I guess it's going to be another option for people who want the Edge experience, because from everything I can tell, I don't see a lot of energy being put into Internet Explorer. It seems to be getting laggier. Firefox seems to be laggier. I'm just not sure why it's taken so long to get Edge support in there when they all say they're working closely with Microsoft.
Yeah, it is a little strange that it's been such a bear for people, but who knows? Who knows what's going on in the background of that browser that we don't know about, right?
Mm. Yep.
But of course you're going to support it because it's the default browser.
Until you go in and change it.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
they're determined. They are determined with that Edge.
They are.
I don't know how many times you open Chrome and all of a sudden you get this pop up from your taskbar saying, "Hey, Edge is a much better browser."
Well, as soon as I did my Fall Creators updates, the first thing that came up was Microsoft Edge. And first thing I did was close that window.
That's right.
So
Why do they keep doing that? I don't know.
that's their browser of the future.
I know, but really, have they not learned that trying to force stuff down people's throats through their operating system just does not make anything better, and it doesn't work. It didn't work with IE.
No, they got sued over IE, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
It doesn't work. People get annoyed when, they open up their new version of Windows and they have a bunch of, suggestions for apps to download. That is the one thing that does really annoy the crap out of me about Microsoft. Sorry, Microsoft.
First world problems.
Yeah.
It's true. Hey, Ryan.
Rob,
So what are we doing today?
today we are talking with Dave Wilkinson from HIMS.
Oh, interesting. HIMS. So you could tell the fine people what HIMS is.
HIMS is I guess they're a manufacturer and also a dealer of assistive technology products for people who are blind and visually impaired.
Now, a lot of their stuff is Braille related. Am I correct in that?
They do have a whole bunch of Braille stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. But they've also got a full line of CCTVs.
Oh, do they?
Yeah, both handheld and desktop.
Oh, no kidding. I did not know that.
Yep.
Huh.
Couple
Now, and
Daisy players.
Oh, okay.
Oh, that's right. I forgot. Yeah, they've got the Daisy book players as well.
Well, so that covers a lot of ground.
It
Yeah.
does. Yep.
Yeah.
Wow. But but are they best known for their Braille stuff? Because what Braille related products do they carry?
They have the Braille Edge Braille display, 40 character Braille display. They've got the Smart Beetle, which is how big's a Smart Beetle, Ryan? Is that 14 cell?
Yes, I think so.
That's their portable Braille display. And then they've had the Braille Sense note taker line. Latest to join that is the Polaris, which is a Android-based Braille note taker. So it joins the HumanWare Braille Note Touch as the only two. Well, there may be more than two now, but those would be the big two all integrated note takers. And aside from that, am I missing anything, Ryan?
For Braille? Nope, I don't think so.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. So their earlier Braille Sense products were quite popular. They were the competition to the Braille Note Apex from HumanWare. They did all right. They were pretty. They were just beautiful design, just really nice design products. So HIMS is actually based in South Korea. So all of their products get designed and manufactured over there.
For now.
For the time being.
Unless a nuclear apocalypse happens.
Oh God, yeah. Can you imagine? Can you imagine living in South Korea right now with all this going on?
I would be, every day your pants would be filled.
Oh Lord.
Every time you heard a loud noise, you'd be like, this is it.
Yeah.
This is it.
Yeah. Every time Trump tweets, you probably have national alarms going off.
That's right.
Blink.
Yeah. Oh God. They're not called tweets. They're called sphincter checks.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that would be terrible.
There he is.
Hey, look.
Look at that.
Somebody is calling us.
Hi, Dave. How are you?
Hi, how's it going?
Things are going well. Glad you could join us.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
All right. Well, let's start out with telling us a little bit about yourself and just how you got involved with HIMS in the first place.
Sure. I'm Dave Wilkinson. I'm the National Education Manager for HIMS, and national in this case goes across borders. I guess it should be North American Education Manager, whatever. But my job is basically to go throughout the U.S. and Canada and do HIMS presentations, whether on the Polaris or other HIMS products. I primarily work with students and teachers, but I also do workshops for rehab agencies. I've done some work with CNIB, and I did a workshop for SET-BC and for BCAT some time back, and we're scheduled to come back there sometime early next year. So, I'm pretty much on the road a lot of the time. It's sort of a have cane will travel type deal. I got involved with HIMS a little over 4 years ago. I was working for an AT distributor in the Midwest, Midwestern part of the U.S. My wife had taken a job with the American Printing House in Louisville, Kentucky, and told me one day that we were moving. And so,
as they want to do.
Yes. So it became sort of necessary for me to figure out what I was going to do next to remain gainfully somewhat useful. And I had started using HIMS products with the company that I was working for, and had just sold competitive products some of my products that I was using that were made by a competitor to purchase HIMS products. I decided I would try to parlay that into a job. And I called HIMS and explained to them that they needed me and listed off the reasons why they needed me. And it was relatively persuasive because they hired me.
Nice.
So that in 20 minutes or less is sort of how we ended up here at HIMS.
Wow. You must be a silvery-tongued devil.
Either that or it was easier just to say whatever. I don't know. You'd have to ask the people at HIMS.
Which distributor did you work for in the Midwest?
I was working for NanoPack.
Oh yeah, okay.
And I'm still great friends with the folks at NanoPack. I had worked there for a couple of years, and they were fabulous folks to work for, but they didn't do any work in Kentucky.
So this is probably a stupid question, but it's a podcast, so and we haven't mentioned it before. But so you are visually impaired as well?
Yes, yeah, I'm totally blind. I have actually a tiny bit of light perception, but for all intents and purposes, I'm totally blind.
And you sort of have been a lifelong user of HIMS products, or like what had been your exposure to HIMS products before you started working for them?
Years ago, I worked for HumanWare. I was a user of HumanWare products for a long time. When I was working for HumanWare, my wife bought a HIMS product in an astounding show of loyalty. And when I was working for NanoPack, I was still primarily a Braille Note Apex user at that point. NanoPack sold both the HumanWare and HIMS products, and so I got exposure to HIMS products through NanoPack and through my wife having a Braille sense. I sort of fell in love with the way that the Braille sense operated. I found that at that point it could do things that I wasn't able to do with my Apex, and so right before the move to Kentucky, I'd sold my Apex to buy a Braille Sense U2, and so I'd sort of switched over at that point. And so when I called HIMS, it was more along the lines of sort of a convert, as far as this is why you really need me. I just came over from the other side.
Smart, I see. Right.
So I still keep up with a lot of competitors' products. It's part of what I try to do to stay current, and so that I can, be able to answer things moderately intelligently as far as how things can compare to each other. But it's one of the neat things that I get to do in my position with HIMS is I get to play with a lot of competitive products, which is always fun.
And there's nothing more healthy to an industry too, and to a technology than competition. I mean,
absolutely. No competition. Otherwise, you get bored and you sit on your laurels.
Innovation really always comes through competition. I mean, that's where people innovate.
It absolutely does.
So Dave Wilkinson is really kind of the Kylo Ren of the adaptive technology industry. He's moved over to the dark side.
I like it.
So let's give you something to stab your lightsaber into here. Tell us about the Polaris.
The Braille Sense Polaris was released by HIMS right at the end of June. So it was just a few months ago. It is an Android-based. We're still using the term note taker. I like to think of it more as a Braille tablet. Mm-hmm. It's running Android Lollipop with plans to update the operating system in the future. We are the first Google certified device that doesn't have a screen. We are extremely proud of that. We didn't find it necessary to have a blind person carry around a tablet that is mainly a sightling accommodation. By getting rid of the tablet, we can knock off over a pound of weight. We can extend your battery life. There's less to fix. We can give you a user replaceable battery. And we frankly don't need it. If you want a screen, it's easy enough to connect to another device, an iPhone or a computer or an Android device using something like TeamViewer. So we just didn't see the necessity of forcing a blind person to carry around a screen that they weren't going to be using a lot of the time anyway. So we're very proud of the fact that we're the first Google certified device ever, and at this point only, that doesn't have a screen on board. The Braille Sense Polaris weighs about 1.6 pounds, so it'd be a little less than a kilogram.
Right.
It's my attempt to sort of show that I'm international and that I speak Canadian.
No, it's okay.
Way to go. I was impressed.
So, I used to be able to do that with the Blaze when I would call it the Blaze EZ. So we're some of the hardware specs that we have on board. We have a 2.1 gigahertz octa-core processor. We have 3 gigabytes of onboard RAM, 64 gigs of onboard flash. We do have Bluetooth NFC. We have Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, NFC. We do have an infrared port, so you could try to use this as a remote control for devices in your house. I have a video of me trying to fly a little remote control helicopter with the Polaris. It didn't go very well, but that wasn't Polaris's fault. It was more human error. You know, and it has your, you know, it supports your apps from the Google Play Store, you know, docs, sheets, slides, drive, and then, you know, anything that you're choosing to download. When you download apps from the Play Store, just like when you're downloading from, you know, using any screen reader, you're going to have some apps that are wildly accessible and some that are wildly inaccessible.
Right.
That's sort of the nature of the nature of the environment that we're dealing with. One of the things that we try to do to limit that is we do have our traditional Braille Sense applications. For anyone who's used a Braille Sense before, they would notice that, you know, a lot of things work virtually identically. You know, we still have our file manager.
F, word processor, W, email, E.
You know, it's just our typical menu that we've had before.
Right.
Media, N, organizer, O.
Until you come down to something like the Google Play Store.
All app, Play Store, P.
And then when I hit enter on the Play Store or all apps, that's when I'm jumping off into sort of the Android world. And I think this shows my age, but there was I guess they still do it on The Price is Right, where the little guy was right on the edge of the cliff, and if you guessed the price wrong, you got shoved over. And that's how I sort of think about jumping out into Android. Once I hit enter on all apps, you've gone over that cliff, and I can't protect you anymore. And you may have a fabulous experience, or you may download Angry Birds and have a very unhappy experience.
Was the decision to not include a screen something that was it feedback that you got from the community, or was it just an internal decision?
I think it's a combination of both. We did one of the things that I'm really proud of in working for HIMS is that we have an extremely strong blind staff. Whether it's me or Damian Pickering, who is our vice president of sales and marketing. We have a couple of other blind sales reps out in the field who are strong Braille users. We have Jenny Axler, who works who's a blind American working in our home office in Korea. We have what I view as an extraordinarily strong core of blind users. And internally, and then both from feedback that we got externally, we just didn't see the necessity of having a tablet on board and making someone flip a keyboard back and forth. You know, we do have a touch strip so that you can do gestures on the Polaris, that you can do swipe gestures and tap gestures. And we were able to take advantage of the fact that without a tablet, you're knocking some weight off, you're extending your battery life. We weren't looking forward to all the cracked screens that we figured were probably going to come back in. So there just didn't there wasn't a whole lot of advantage to it. And with talking to blind users in the field, that was backed up. So I think it probably started out as an internal decision and was then verified or got a lot of validity from the blind community as a whole.
And why was the choice made to go with Android Lollipop?
Lollipop was, at the time, it's always a tough decision to decide what you're going to be using. And when we started developing this, Marshmallow was relatively new. The accessibility features of Marshmallow weren't as, I guess, first of all, to back up with that, there are probably a number of internal decisions and internal thoughts that I'm not familiar with.
Right.
When this was being developed, Lollipop was well-known, well-tested. It was the decision was made to go with Lollipop and to upgrade the operating system in the future once we had more of an idea of where accessibility features were going to go with Android. And then once you make that choice, it's sort of locked down and you can't double back and change it later on. You know, at that point, you're committed to it until after you've released the device, and then you can go back, which we will, and update the operating system in the future.
Is there a camera on the unit?
There is a camera on the unit. There's a 13 megapixel camera underneath. I'm taking mine out of the case so that I can, so if you hear it jabbering, it's because I'm hitting keys as I pull it out. It's right to the right of the right rear rubber foot. Sounds like the name of an awful band.
Say that 4 times fast.
We are right rear rubber foot.
Hello, Cleveland.
Hello, Cleveland. That's right. We'll turn it up to 11. Anyway, we're all showing our age.
We are. Yep.
But so there is a 13 megapixel camera. We could be doing a Skype video call, except that it wouldn't benefit any of us. You can use scan and read apps on here, such as KNFB Reader and TapTapC. Now that you've got an Android version of that, I must say that I'm not personally wild about the idea of holding a several $1,000 device a foot above a document to have it read the document back to me. I would rather hold something substantially cheaper above that document in case it gets dropped.
Right.
But the camera is there if you choose to utilize it for scanning and reading documents.
Cool. And with 13 megapixels, you should be able to do practically a whole newspaper at once.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So does in general, and this might be a hard question to answer, but with the lack of a screen, does that make the unit more resilient?
I don't know if it makes the unit more resilient. We certainly expect for it to. There are going to be less pieces and parts that can actually go wrong. It's always tough when you have a new device to talk about resilience because you don't have enough data to base anything off of yet.
Yeah, fair
that's
enough.
A question that I would probably be able to answer with more candor a year from now, once we have data to actually base it on. One thing that I will tell you is that on our keyboard, and now I feel like I've drifted into sort of how politicians do thing, where they answer the question that they wanted you to ask instead of the one that you actually asked.
Pivot.
But we do have an alternate control key so that you can take advantage of things like shortcuts within Google applications, like Control N for a new file when you're in Google Drive. So that we, instead of having you use sort of esoteric keyboard commands, we added an alternate control key so you can use those keyboard commands that are built in for Chromebooks anyway. So, but ask me a year from now about resilience, and I should be able to have a better answer for you.
We'll take you up on that.
Yeah, I'm putting it on the calendar.
All right. Yeah, me too. And by the way, that calendar would be a BrailleSense native app that would also be synchronizable with your Google Calendar. How was that for an excellent way of working that in?
That's perfect.
Nice plug.
Now, Dave, do you guys have any way of syncing notes or documents or any other file format to like an Android phone or an iPhone without like tethering?
At the moment, we can synchronize your schedule. We can we're synchronizing your contacts, your schedule, and we're synchronizing email, but we are not synchronizing documents. That is certainly something that we can look at in the future, but you got to start somewhere.
Yep.
We do have access to, obviously you can put documents into the cloud and you can download documents from the cloud, or you could use them directly in the cloud just using Google Docs.
Right.
But we're not doing any synchronization beyond that. But remember, the product is young.
Yep.
So who knows where it'll go.
And is it your feeling that really, with cloud-based services and documents really, just becoming more and more and more prevalent and popular, do you see the day where you're not even really going to need to include a sync feature? Or is that day already here?
It's certainly conceivable. I've been in this business way too long to try to figure out where things are going to go more than about 6 minutes from now. By the way, I could use the stopwatch and countdown timer on the Polaris to look at those 6 minutes.
It is no wonder HIMS hired you. Incidentally, sir, you are an artist.
You're on point.
Right rear rubber foot. But so I don't know. Obviously, with a lot of, when you're working in the cloud at this point, there's still somewhat of a delay when you're writing in contracted Braille and you're having Braille forward and back translated and sent back and forth. So there's still a use for internal storage simply for the speed of it at this point.
Okay.
As that it gets better in the future, who knows where it'll go.
And do you have access to the Google Assistant on the device?
I do have access to by the Google Assistant. You mean being able just to speak to it and ask Google, with saying "Okay, Google" and that type of stuff?
Yeah.
Yes.
File manager.
So we could say, "Okay, Google, What is the temperature in Vancouver?
It's 54 degrees in Vancouver right now.
There we go. I can also use the Google Assistant for doing things like opening up my word processor or opening up a specific app on the Polaris. Now, obviously, I could give it a particular Google search if I wanted to find out who the sixth Prime Minister of Canada was. It would go into Google and it would give me results from that search.
Right. Well, we've talked about Polaris. Is there anything else you want to cover on the Polaris, Dave?
I could probably talk about the Polaris all day, considering that it's part of what I'm doing at this point. But I guess in closing, all I would really say on the Polaris is that if you've used a Braille Sense before, it is extraordinarily similar. The name Polaris itself comes from the Polaris Office Suite, which is on a few hundred million Android phones.
Yep.
Being able to use things like, and so when you go into our word processor, it feels like our old word processor, but you're actually in Polaris Word. That gives us an infinite amount of possibilities for things that we're going to be able to do in the future. It sounds sort of trite to say, but it's true that this is a new product. There's, of course, an awful lot that you can do with it by having access to your Google services, but we are just starting to scratch the surface. And so over the next several months to a year, you're going to see us taking advantage of a lot of the things that are available through being able to use the Polaris Office Suite. And the reason we use the Polaris Office Suite is that the folks who make the Polaris Office Suite happen to own HIMS. So it was a really good fit.
Interesting.
Aha.
Sucking up to the corporate overlords.
You better believe it. and proud of it.
Good plan.
It always works out.
So for those people who don't know what products HIMS carries, what else do you guys have?
HIMS has a line of blindness and low vision products. On the blindness side, we have digital book readers. We have our Blaze ET and EZ, which are digital book readers that have a camera in the back, so you can also do optical character recognition. We have Braille displays. We have a 14-cell Braille display called the Smart Beetle, and we have a 40-cell Braille display that's called the Braille Edge. The Braille Edge also has some note-taking capabilities. It writes directly to an SD card so that you can use a notepad. It's sort of like literally a sort of a scratch pad, so that if you were wanting to take notes in a class or in an office environment and write directly to an SD card and not have to have a computer in front of you, you could do that. And we were one of the earliest. I always used to say the earliest to do it, but somebody probably beat us, so we'll say one of the earliest. We're the earliest significant manufacturer to do that. How's that? And now you're starting to see us copied with other major Braille displays. So we that's when you jump on board and say we were a trendsetter.
Right.
All of our Braille devices have a one-handed mode that work in and out of whether it's in a note taker mode or whether you're using it as a Braille display with a screen reader. So that if you're using our Braille Sense Polaris or our earlier Braille Sense models, the U2, the U2 on hand, the U2 on hand, it's a non-existent product, the U2 Mini, or the Braille Sense on hand, or our Smart Beetle, or whatever, whether you're using these, the Smart Beetle wouldn't work as a note taker, but if you're using our note takers as Braille displays, the one-handed mode carries over. So we're very proud of the fact that that's something that we've made an accommodation for. On our low vision side, we have a number of products. We have the eBot. The eBot was the first and only video magnifier to connect to an iPad so that it can show the image from your near and distance view camera onto an iPad. With the eBot Pro, you can even control the camera from the iPad just by dragging your finger across the screen. We have our Go Vision, which is a transportable video magnifier that's a near and distance camera that can also load files off of a USB drive. So that if you wanted to load something like a Word file and there wasn't an old school hard copy print version of that file, you could load it right from your SD card or right from your USB drive. We also have handheld video magnifiers. We have our Candy line of video magnifiers. We have a 4-inch and a 5-inch version of the Candy video magnifier. And we still have, to go really old school, a I guess I don't know what we call them now, CCTVs, which just became sort of you know what I'm talking about though, the old guys with the camera underneath for the
video magnifiers
called the Lifestyle. Yeah, I guess just straight up video magnifiers called the Lifestyle. So we have a pretty complete line of video magnifiers and blindness devices, and I'm going to be in Toronto in November, and then Vancouver early next year.
Oh,
so if you happen to live in either of those cities, look me up.
well,
I'll come out and do a whole product demo for you.
Well, we're in Vancouver. We'll have you into the Guitar Dungeon, which is our studio that we record out of, and we can have you live on the show, and Ryan will feed you tequila. It'll be great.
That'll be awesome. That'll be fantastic, or HIMS-tastic, as we like to say.
The plan will be we'll get you drunk on tequila, and then try to get all the industry secrits that we always try to get out of the manufacturers.
Yeah.
Excellent.
And fail utterly.
Excellent.
And we fail utterly.
Yes. I'll have to remember to not listen not that I listen in staff meetings anyway, but if I perchance did, I would stop a few months before coming there. We'll take care of that.
Do you guys find that is it tricky keeping up with the technology in terms of like when you're sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry, go ahead. Go ahead. Because I'm interested to see where this is going to go.
Well, yeah. I'm just thinking in terms of, when you're in the development process. I mean, it must be because, we've had tablets, we've had smartphones, and they're always evolving so fast. Is that a challenge when you're looking at trying to develop new products or integrating that technology into existing products?
It's absolutely a challenge. But one of the first things that you have to remember is, why are we developing this to begin with? And the reason that we're all still developing these things, people predicted the death of the note taker years ago, and then it never happened. There's still there's a very strong market, and why not? As a blind person, I like to know that things have been made specifically for me, and if I can have a word processor, an email program, a browser, etc., that were made with me in mind, that I know is accessible today, that'll be accessible tomorrow, I want that. But at the same time, I want the ability to be able to download programs that my friends are using or that my colleagues are using and have access to those as well. And the reason I point a lot of this out is that when you're first developing this stuff, you want to make sure that you don't lose anyone that you had in the past, and that you expand the realm of possibilities for the customer base that you had in the past so that you can attract more people in the future. The other trick to all of this is that you have to immediately plan for obsolescence. If you buy a phone, Apple or the folks at Google or whoever figure you're going to ditch that phone in a year or two, and the hardware is going to be obsolete anyway, and who cares? These devices are several $1,000s, so we need to have the absolute best hardware that we can have now, so that as hardware then hopefully catches up to us, or as we become more of the mainstream of what you have in your hardware, or as hardware passes us by in the years to come, we can still support the product, we can still have it connect with other devices, and so that you haven't bought something that has then drifted into the realm of obsolescence. So there are a lot of balancing acts that go on there. But the biggest thing, if you want the absolute latest and greatest in technology, you're never going to be looking towards the assistive technology world. You're going to be buying a Nexus, or you're going to be buying an iPhone 8 or an iPhone 10 or whatever, and you're going to be using our Braille displays to then interact with it, or our Polaris or our Braille Sense U2s in Braille display mode to interact with that phone. But when you're wanting blindness-specific programs that are going to be infinitely accessible, that are going to be super easy to use, that aren't going to make you think, now where do I tap or click or touch here to make this happen, then that's when we can step in, and that's where the note taker still has a lot of power and a lot of possibility inside of blind world.
Well, and do you think that a little bit of that is also the fact that note takers have been around for so long that the community is really comfortable with the concept of a note taker much more than they're comfortable with the concept of buying something in the mainstream and then sort of tacking on some sort of Braille component that could sort of work in the same way?
I think there are two questions in there. Yes, there's certainly a comfort level, especially with people that are my age, or people who aren't teenagers, who grew up with the idea of note takers. But the second part of that question is the beauty of a note taker is that I can reduce in a lot of situations the number of pieces of technology that I'm using to one. Whereas if I use any other device where I'm adding a Braille display to it, I can only reduce those down to two.
Right.
So, if I could get down to that one device where I can use the Google Assistant, where I can download something from the Play Store, where I can read a book, where I can browse on the net, and I don't have to pull out that second device, then from a sheer efficiency standpoint, one device is, it's easier just to carry one, and it's easier just to use that one and not have to worry about, tethering the other two together through cables or Bluetooth or however they're going to be hooked together. And I think there's a certain huge comfort level in knowing that I've just got one device that I'm having to use at the moment.
Do you find yourself, do you ever get frustrated with the Braille technology? And we've sort of talked about this before on the show, where we kind of have sat around, armchair development and just been like, the company that comes along and figures out a way to do Braille cheaper, that can offer up a working Braille unit that isn't so expensive, is really just going to revolutionize the market. What's your take on that?
Oh, I think that's absolutely the case. I think there's a lot involved in making a cheaper Braille display. We would all, it's sort of the holy grail. For the beginning part of your question, if I'm not frustrated and if I'm not irritated and disappointed about things that my stuff can't do, then I'm not doing my job. You need to always be, you need to be hungry and grasping towards the future and thinking, what can we do tomorrow that we couldn't do today? So yes, I stay irritated and frustrated most of the time.
Right.
And I think I think that's probably the case with a lot of geeky people. The other part of this is that you're aware when you're working on product development of the compromises that had to be made. And unless which means that I can remember all the things that I wanted that may happen later or were compromised out or whatever. And that's all, so you remember those things, or at least I do. And so I'm never satisfied, nor do I intend to ever be satisfied. But yet I'm happy. It's a strange paradox.
Yeah, and it must be a real process when you're developing the device, because you got to really, you kind of got to weigh each element. You got to go, well, this is really cool and this is something that we need, but it's going to increase the cost of the unit by this much because we have to manufacture that. And so it must be a real balancing act of what to include and what not to include, because is price point always sort of at the back of your minds when you guys are developing these things?
I think there are a number of things that they're at the back of our minds, and this is probably the same with us and anyone else. Price point figures in the amount of development hours. Can they get whatever this feature is elsewhere? Is it necessary if they can get it elsewhere to include it here? How many more units will I sell if I have it?
Right.
All of these things come into play. A really good example of this, we have the ability to input math, whether it's Nemeth or UEB math, and have it instantly show up on a visual display, whether it's a projector or an iPad through TeamViewer or a monitor or whatever, to have it instantly show up correctly as spatial math, so that you're writing right in the word processor. That's something that's imperative to have from an educational standpoint, and that someone can't get somewhere else.
Right.
Therefore, whatever we have to do to make that happen, we did. Whereas if I'm trying to develop my own GPS app, well, there are plenty of GPS apps that are already accessible, so maybe I won't go down that road.
Right.
The one that I have on here is Nearby Explorer, because it'll let me download my maps and I don't have to have a hotspot. So we'll skip the man hours necessary for that.
So
I don't know if that helps to clarify things.
Yeah,
at all.
no, absolutely.
So I guess my question, Dave, is, let's take a product like the Orbit Reader, which everybody's still waiting to get their hands on.
Sure.
Literacy rates among people who are blind are really, really low.
Yes, they are.
And the price of Braille displays is really, really high.
Yes, it is.
Have these manufacturers, including HIMS, taken a step back and said, instead of looking at adding features, why don't we reduce the amount of features and just put out a Braille display that works?
It's a hard question to answer. And the Orbit Reader does some neat things, but it also leaves off some really neat key features, like it doesn't have cursor routing. It's a very noisy display. It's a very slow display, etc. I don't think, and I live right down the street from APH. I have good friends at APH, and so I don't say this in a disparaging way, but I'm not sure if the Orbit Reader has filled all of the necessities for what we need for a low-cost Braille display. With that being said, I think any manufacturer who hasn't stepped back to figure out, what do we need on both a low end and a high end, hasn't done their job. And so I think, there's an awful lot of what is it that people are looking for in the market, and how are we going? You want your product to fill gaps, such as the math bit, that you can't get anywhere else. You want your device to be as quiet as possible. You want it to be as fast as possible, so that your blind compatriots can keep up with their sighted peers. And so I think things like noise level in a Braille display and speed are important. But yes, certainly, I think all manufacturers are looking at how can we bring costs down as much as possible.
Well, and I think, a $400 or $500 Braille display, expectations aren't as high as they are when you're spending, $3,000 or $4,000 on a Braille display. So for somebody like myself who lost their sight later in life, $400 or $500 for an Orbit Braille reader just to put Braille into my hands again is totally worth the money. I don't care how noisy it is. I don't need the math. I don't need all these other things. I just need Braille. Right.
And I think there's going to be, and this is getting into the realm of prediction where I'm invariably wrong, but I think there's going to be some sort of, the Orbit Reader, I hope, does an awful lot for Braille literacy. I think some of your more high-end devices are still going to be used on more of a professional level or in schools, et cetera.
Yeah.
But if the Orbit Reader can raise literacy rates, that's what it was designed to do, and I hope it does it.
Right. Totally agree.
Yep, me too.
Well, then I feel pressured to agree as well.
Peer pressure.
Peer pressure.
That's right.
It's going to be like everything else. You can get a Chromebook, or you can get an XPS 15 or whatever.
Right.
There are different levels that are involved, and it's going to depend on what you want or need it for.
Right.
Whew. Well, we threw some tough questions on it. Sorry, Ryan, were you?
Well, I was just going to ask if you guys have actually taken apart an Orbit and see what they're made of, because I've actually never seen one yet.
They're not shipping yet.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. That's and we won't get into
That's
it.
another show.
I don't want to get Dave in any trouble. I don't want
That's
to
right. Yeah.
speculate on anything, but I'm just saying it's taking a really long time.
Yes.
For them to get that out. So I don't know what that's about, but
anything you want to share with us? Anything new and upcoming? Anything new with the Daisy players?
I don't have an awful lot that I can offer that's new for the Daisy players, other than we are testing some firmware that will fix some CNIB issues that we had with our Blazes, which should be released soon. We do have some new products that we're very excited about.
Ooh, tell us.
I would have to come over the wall and stay in Canada. And if I went any further on that,
fair enough.
But we do have some very exciting things coming in the future. Our distributor in Canada is Frontier Computing, so feel free to get in touch with the folks from Frontier if you would like to have demonstrations of HIMS products. You can also call HIMS directly at 888-520-4467. If anyone wants to email me directly, you can email me at Dave, DAVE, at HIMS-INC.com. and I will be happy to answer your questions. And if I don't know the answers, I will try to send a reasonably creative answer that made it up.
Excellent. And so is the Polaris available now?
The Polaris is available now. It started shipping, I think it was June 30th. We said we were going to ship before July 1, and I think we sneaked it right out the door sometime close to midnight Hawaii time.
Well done.
On time
I think
and
we
under
had
budget.
at least 4 minutes to spare.
Excellent. Okay, Dave. Well, thanks so much for joining us and chatting with us for a little bit tonight.
Well, thank you very much. I can't tell you how much I appreciate the opportunity. It's always fun to get to be on programs like this and to get to talk with folks like you guys. So thank you very much.
Well,
Sounds good.
And stay in touch. Let us know when you're coming up again. I think Steve's added to his calendar, so we'll have to join you for lunch or dinner or something.
Excellent. We'll do it.
Okay, Dave.
Sounds like a plan.
Take care, sir.
All right.
Well,
Well, did you guys get your questions answered?
yeah, I think so.
You feel pretty good about that? This sounds like a pretty neat little device.
I will have one in my hands tomorrow.
Will ya?
Yep.
I'm curious to see how much smaller it actually is than the Braille Note Touch.
Yeah, me too. I'm curious.
Well,
Very
it's
curious.
probably half the depth from front to back.
You would think
There's
so,
no screen.
right? Yeah.
It's got a touch strip on it, so it's going to be kind of wide enough for you to do gestures on.
I don't know. I don't know how I
But-
feel about not having a screen. Like, what's your guys' take on that?
Well, he's true. If it gets dropped, you can have a lot of cracked screens.
Yeah, but it seems to me, with especially with a note taker, a Braille note taker, if you drop it, you're probably going to have a lot more issues than a cracked screen. I mean, you're probably going to have bigger
the
issues
pins
anyways.
falling out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Potentially. But it is, one potential area of vulnerability.
I
Right.
suppose. But I mean, just from a usability standpoint, because it seems to me that the whole point of the touch screen, or to have the screen, like say on the Braille Note Touch, is that it's, say in an education setting, the teacher can look over the student's shoulder and see what's going on, as well as the user
Yep.
using Braille. So it's a bit of an interactive.
Yeah. Or with the Polaris, the teacher could be up front with an iPad and Android device and have TeamViewer on it and still monitor what the student's working on.
Oh, okay. All right. Fair enough. That's true.
Remotely.
That's true. Interesting.
What were you going to say, Steve?
Well, I was just in follow-up to what you said. That's assuming that they let you on the Wi-Fi.
Right.
One of the big problems that we have in schools around here is they don't want to let
They
the
lock them
kids
down.
connect any kind of device to the Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
Right.
So that would be a problem for something like TeamViewer, but you can plug a monitor into it if you want to as well.
Right.
So,
I wonder if you could use some sort of Bluetooth display device, if there's such a thing.
I don't know.
The other thing I'd be curious about.
you could probably Mirrorcast.
Oh, that's true. Maybe Chromecast.
Yeah, you could Chromecast. Yeah.
But that'd still have to be on the Wi-Fi.
Oh, that's right. That's Wi-Fi too.
Yeah.
Never mind.
Yeah.
But the other thing I'd be curious to know is if that dropped the price point of or if they had to add some other technology to sort of stand in for the screen. Like,
Can you pull up the website there, Steve?
I suppose it could.
Google. All right.
All right,
Well,
what's the
what about the
US
let's go to
retail?
the U.S.
Let's check the U.S.
Let's go straight to the manufacturer,
$49.95 is my guess.
which is comparable to what? What's the Braille Note Touch
The
worth?
Braille Note Touch is $6.
Oh, really? So you figured a good $2,000 under. Wait,
That's-
$6 American?
Yeah,
Really?
I think it's like $59.95.
Geez, guys, they need to bring the price of these things down.
That's why, I just don't understand. Like, yes, in education, you need math support and you need all this other
No,
stuff, but
you weren't too far off. $54.95.
All right. So the Braille Sense Polaris is currently $54.95. It looks like it's been reduced from $57.95. So how does that compare to the U.S. price for the Braille Note Touch?
Exactly the same. That's why they dropped
is
the
it
price.
$54.95?
Yep.
Yeah, so
So-
price matched.
Yeah. So the Braille Note Touch is $54.95 as well. So interesting.
Well, what do we make of that?
Well, I make of that they look at each other's websites and try to be competitive.
Well, no, I know, but so really, really, then it's actually more expensive to manufacture the Polaris without a screen than it is.
Well, but they might have thrown their money into other places, right?
Sure.
You know, like they've I believe have a better processor than the Braille Note Touch has.
Okay.
I think they've got more RAM too.
Yeah,
I think the Braille Note Touch
not
is
really sure.
2
I haven't
gigs. I don't remember.
done a
but
side by side of the two of them, but
maybe we need to. We need to do a comparison chart.
maybe we should.
That's interesting, though. It's pretty fascinating. And so now the Braille Note Touch and the Polaris are the only two Google.
Certified.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Well, so what's the relevancy of that? Like, so there are others that are not Google certified out there?
I believe there's 1 or 2 others that are out there that aren't certified by Google,
That are just
which
kinda-
basically means you can actually use all the Play Store apps, all the Google
Okay.
services on your device. So it's gone through a certification process.
Right.
Whereas anybody, because Android is open, anybody can throw Android on their device, but you just can't, I think, include the Google services.
I see. Okay. Interesting. But still, man, that's a lot of money.
Yep.
That's a lot of money.
Well, and you think about it, education budgets are shrinking all the time. That's why they're jumping on Chromebooks, iPads. You know, who can afford $5,000?
Well, it's true. Like the important thing is for the industry to have options. You need to have low end stuff, and you need to have high end stuff, and because the people who are going to be able to afford the shiny new technology, they're going to buy it because they can afford it. But when you're dealing with something like Braille, and you're trying to combat the fact that Braille literacy is at an all-time low, there has to be some low-end options there for people that are, at least, somewhat in this century.
Yep. Yeah, and you just don't see, manufacturers putting any energies there.
But could it be that the technology just isn't there yet? I mean, it's just electronic Braille is expensive, and that's just end stop, right?
I think, it would be really interesting if you took out all the bells and whistles on any of these note takers. You take out the word processor, you take out the Daisy player, you take out the MP3 player, you take out the spreadsheet viewer, take out everything except Braille translation. Braille input, Braille output.
Yeah, but I don't know.
Then you've got an Orbit reader for $600.
Well, maybe, but I don't know.
Think
But
about
how
emerging
useful
markets.
is that going to be to
Think about
somebody?
India. Think about some of these other emerging markets that don't have the finances for stuff like this. Literacy's huge.
Absolutely, I agree with you. I absolutely agree with you.
And I'm not going to spend $5,400 just to be able to read Braille. Not going to happen.
Sure, sure. But
And I don't care if it clankety clanks as long as I get Braille, right?
Well, you would though. You would if you were in a meeting or something, or
Yes, you would.
some
But again,
place where people were being
or a
quiet.
school, like that would
Exactly,
not be a
but
good
that's where-
education setting.
Right, but that's
Well, yeah,
where
but
we
look,
come back
the
to
alternative that they use in education settings is oftentimes
Perkins
Braille,
Braille.
which is
Junk, junk, junk,
not
junk.
quiet at all.
Oh, is that right? Okay.
Sure,
Well,
yeah.
fair enough then.
But that comes back to your argument where we need choice, we need options.
Yeah.
Low end and high end. And we've got the high end. We've had them for years.
But I mean, the question has to be, where's the priority? Like, who is is anybody out there really actively trying to develop a new way of doing Braille that's going to be cheaper?
Orbit.
Well,
They're the only ones I can think of off the top of my head.
Bristol
Braille?
Tech, yeah. They're coming out with a multi-line tablet.
Yeah, well, that's not going to be cheap.
wasn't there a few years ago?
Actually, it's their proposed price for it isn't that high.
Really?
Yeah.
That's using like the swell capsule type stuff, isn't it? It's not true pins, I don't think.
I'm not sure how they're doing it.
Yeah, I don't remember. Yeah, try and get them on the show too.
Yeah, we should, because it's a fascinating topic. Like, it really makes you wonder if they're really thinking outside the box on this, or if they're just, they just keep hammering away at this old way of doing Braille. That's just it's just cost prohibitive to a lot of people.
Well, and I think, we've talked about it in the past, or Steve and Rick have mentioned it, that the Braille pins that they're using, there's never really been a new innovative technology to replace that technology that has proven and tested itself.
Right, exactly.
So I don't know what else you could use. There's got to be something out there.
Well, and it's got to only be a matter of time. I mean, we've heard stories about them trying to use haptics.
Yeah, and air capsule.
Air capsules. We got a kid building a Braille printer out of Lego.
That's
I mean,
right.
again, I guess what I wonder about these manufacturers is that are they really trying to innovate that particular technology in order to drop the price point, or are they sort of sinking all their development and all their R&D into, like you said, creating new bells and whistles of neat and shiny things that the note takers can do, but not really worrying about the actual foundational technology.
Yeah, I don't, like Dave said, they have to try and look at what the mainstream technology is doing and changing. Google, yeah, we need access to Chrome, we need access to Google Docs. Let's include that in our note takers. So you're packing more and more features into these things just so you stay relevant, or people are going to spend $200 and buy a Chromebook.
Yeah, and there's also a part of this where, the disability community in general, they don't want a device, and it's not fair for them to have a device that's, 20 years technologically behind something that the person next to them is using because they're blind and this other person's sighted. I mean, that's not fair either. I mean, people with any sort of, physical impairment deserve just as shiny and a device with all the bells and whistles as anybody else does.
Yep, I agree.
Well, and I think Dave talked about the failed prediction, my failed prediction that note takers would be gone by now, right?
Well, me and Ryan had that discussion as well.
Yeah, and I really figured that people would just be pairing portable Braille displays to off-the-shelf devices.
Yep.
Because you can have much the same functionality. Now, what that doesn't get you, and this is really only important in an education setting, is those math features that they're building in.
Well, a 20-hour battery life.
Yeah, well, that's true. Yeah, maybe there's somebody working out there on an app for that would close that gap. But the big advantage to a single unified device is there's one device to charge. That's the single biggest advantage to it right there.
Also single point of failure.
That is true. It is the single point of failure as well. Yeah. But, a lot of the things that you can do with these note takers, you can do with a off-the-shelf device paired to a Braille display.
Yep.
And I don't see these advancing anywhere to a point where somebody's going to start saying, hey, this is such a better option. I don't see it. The only place that I see a really, really strong market for these is education and the people who have traditionally used note takers and want to continue to do so.
Yeah, I guess the nice thing about having an all-in-one device, though, is I don't know about you. I personally haven't had a lot of issues with it, but pairing can be a nightmare.
Can be.
Pairing can be a bear. And if you have a single note-taking device, you don't have to worry about that. It's all built in, But like I said, it can also be your single point of failure. And once it goes, now what do you do? You're back to your iPad or Android device and pairing your Braille display if you have one.
Yep.
But I mean, we kind of talked about Bluetooth technology a few weeks ago, that it's only getting better and better. I mean, more and more you're finding less and less of those pairing nightmares, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep. On some devices. Yep.
But, at the end of the day, I hate to say it, but I just feel like all eyes are on this Orbit reader.
Oh, everybody's waiting, and people have been waiting over a year. They put deposits down. They got to be angry. Because I've even reached out to Orbit, and I've heard nothing back.
Well, and it really makes me wonder why that is. I mean, it's got to be development issues. They haven't got it working yet.
Yeah, I don't know.
Is the only thing that I could think of that they would you'd sort of have radio
reliably.
silence.
Yeah, because they've had prototypes out there. There are people who have had them in their hands and have used them and played with them,
But I mean, I guess, the long and the short of it is it's not easy to do. It's not easy to take, this Braille technology and do it differently.
Well, there's only so many ways to do it, and there's a lot of patents sitting out there for the different ways to do it as well. So, you've got to, one, come up with something innovative, and two, make sure you don't run afoul of somebody else's established patents.
Well, you know what I think? I don't think we're going to solve this problem today, sitting in the guitar dungeon.
Probably not.
I'm not sure what problems we would be able to solve sitting here in the guitar dungeon.
We could probably solve that problem, there being too much tequila.
Can there ever be too much tequila, though?
Yes,
there can.
There can.
Okay, fair enough. You're right.
You should know that.
I do know that, actually. 'Tis very true. Hey, Ryan.
Rob.
Where can people find us?
www.atbanter.com.
Oh, I like that.
Thank you.
I like that. Did you just come up with that?
No, I heard it on another podcast.
Did you? Right on.
And on
The
goes
tribe-
our tradition of ripping off other podcasts.
Absolutely.
Beware, everybody else out there.
That's right.
They can also email us if they so desire. atbanterpodcast@gmail.com is what you'd type into your email client of your choosing.
Or you could go over to Facebook or Twitter or YouTube, and you could find us there too.
That's right. Just search for AT Banter, all one word, on Facebook. And on Twitter, we are at AT_Banter. Anything else today, boys?
Nope. Stay tuned for next week's show, which is our big annual Halloween theme show.
Oh, that's right.
Scary.
I'm excited about this. Darn, you know what? If we should have planned this differently. We should have done it
This week.
No, we should have done it at your Halloween party.
Oh, well, it'd be pretty loud and noisy
Yeah, no,
upstairs.
he's going
That's
to be
perfect.
too busy having a Halloween party.
Come on, that'd be perfect. We had the anniversary party. We were all drunk.
Well,
That worked out well.
We can be drunk at the Halloween party or
All
the
right.
Halloween
It
show.
won't be the same. It's going to be like a Monday afternoon. I guess it'd be all right.
What do you want to do it Sunday night? You
We'll
wanna do it
or maybe we'll talk. We'll talk about it on air.
Tuesday's Halloween. That'll be busy.
It's
no,
gonna
no Sunday night, family dinner night.
Oh yeah,
Right,
see,
so
and
it's Monday.
Rick's not going to be. And Rick never wants to drink anyways because he always has to drive.
Yeah.
It's no fun. We got to get him drunk one of these times.
We'll just mix it in with his ginger ale.
Or we'll just get Steve. Steve will just go pick him up. Literally, like just force him out the door. Well, then Steve can't drink.
Then I can't drink.
Damn it.
We need Uber.
Yeah, no kidding.
NDP, bring an Uber or Lyft. Somebody.
Help. All right, let's get out of here, guys. All right, I have been Rob Minot. You guys are dicks.
And I'm Ryan Fleury.
And I'm Steve Barkley.
And thanks, everybody, for listening in yet again. And we will see you guys next week.
This podcast has been brought to you by Canadian Assistive Technology, providing low vision and blindness solutions across Canada. Find us online at www.canasstech.com. That's CANASSTECH.com. Or call us toll free at 1-844-795-8324. For all your assistive technology servicing needs, call Chaos Technical Services at 778-847-6840 or find them online at chaostechnicalservices.com. Music provided by bensound.com.
Okay, so what are we doing right now?
Well, when you guys showed up at my house, Steve said I had a parcel
He did. They left it just sitting right at your front door.
right at the front door.
Shouldn't have said anything. You should have just taken it.
Oh, yeah.
No, I don't know, Ryan. There's nothing there.
So I've got a parcel right here.
What's in the parcel,
Hear that?
Ryan?
Cardboard box.
What's
Let's-
in the box, man?
Let's
What's in
hope
the
it's
box?
sturdy with you
I-
whacking it like that.
Well,
Hopefully
it's
it's-
going to be sturdy.
Let's hope it's not Gwyneth Paltrow's head.
All right, so I'm going to do the play-by-play here. All right, so we have a cubic box which is taped shut.
Yes.
Ryan is picking at it furiously.
It's like Christmas presents.
I think he's excited.
It's like Christmas.
He is-
Get a knife.
He is
What are you
tearing
doing?
through the
Stop it.
cardboard.
Use your
He
keys
is
or something. Oh,
reefing
God.
on
All
it.
right,
It
never
looks
mind.
his face is slowly turning red
It is. That's
as he gets his way into this thing. And he's opened the box. There's a white box inside the box.
Another box.
And the white box inside the box
Another box.
is...
what is it?
It's a box. Oh, yeah, and there's
It's a box. It's a box.
stuff in
Here,
there.
another box.
Look, it's another box. Turn the box around a little bit there. It's a Google Home Mini.
A Google Home
I
Mini.
do feel like I'm 12 at my aunt's place at Christmas time.
Just like Christmas.
Open it, Ryan.
Okay. Oh, I broke
Oh,
it.
he's
geez,
tearing into
Louise,
the...
dude.
See, this is a guy who does not respect packaging
No,
one iota.
You know how much?
Why would you respect packaging?
It's
Because you got to repackage it and resell it when you're
Well, I'm just
sick of
gonna
it in 3 days
I'll
because
sell
you've
it to
got
you.
another Google Home Mini.
I'll sell it to you at full
Yeah,
price.
well, I want the box.
I want the box.
He's got to discount it now.
That's right.
He's being frustrated by the inner box now.
Stymied.
It's stopped him cold.
Uh-oh.
It is mighty. Oh no, it's not. It's not that mighty. It is being shredded as we speak.
Oh, okay, yeah,
the
just
box. Shred the box.
He's like a human hamster, folks.
It's a box inside another box.
okay. Look at that. Oh, that is small.
There is a cute little puck-sized object in his hand.
Is that
like
puck
a-
size?
it's like a donut.
Is that regulation puck?
Yeah, it's
I
kind of
guess
like
it's
a
about
big
puck.
donut.
It's like
yeah,
a powdered donut.
nice powdered donut.
It's got a
Don't
jack on the back.
eat it.
Rah, rah, rah. Button on the side. Look at that. One button and a jack.
So wait, where's the button?
The button's on the side here. I think
Okay.
that's the mute button.
Right.
And then I think if you tap the sides, you can turn the volume up and down from what I've read.
Really?
The only thing I was disappointed in is I recall at the Google event we did,
Yeah.
that they had mentioned there was a head or an audio out jack.
It looks like
There isn't.
really?
From everything I've read and reviews I've looked at,
Wait, can you fork it over?
there's no audio jack. I think that's the power jack. Which really frustrated me a bit when I read that
It's
because
a mini USB, all right. Yeah.
Because
No, you're right.
I was sure they said there was an audio jack.
Huh.
That was one of the main reasons I had bought one, because then I could hook it directly into the mixer.
Did they
but-
not say there was also the top was also fabric?
I don't remember.
The top is fabric.
That's not the type of fabric I was thinking of.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not
not
like a
very-
cloth fabric. It's like the jackets. It's a tactile, like a electric.
Yeah, I thought the whole
Woven fabric.
I kind of thought the whole unit was gonna be fabric, but fair enough. All right. And what did this thing run?
$70 Canadian, 88 including tax.
Interesting. And where'd you get it?
I got it from the Google store.
Nice. And how long did it take you to get?
Week and a half.
Interesting.
Yeah, you can probably just go into Best Buy and pick one up
Oh,
today.
yeah, I'm
right?
sure you
But
can. Yeah, I'm sure
they're
you
in
can lend
stock
it to us.
now. but-
So what are the limitations of this little baby? What can't it do that a Google Home full can do?
I don't think it has any limitations.
Is that right?
I don't
so it's
believe so.
just a cheap ass.
Yep, it's competing with the Amazon Echo Dot, which I think is like $50, but has an audio out jack.
Interesting.
It is.
So what are you gonna do with it?
I'm going to plug it in and I'm going to play with it. And I'm going to stroke it and rub it and pat it and love it.
Okay, Google, get the out. You're done. Your replacement's here.
No, one of them's probably going to go in my.
Apologies. I don't understand.
One of them's.
Well, too bad,
It's hard
baby.
to understand when you've been replaced.
One of them's going to go in my bedroom, I think.
That was a terrible catch.
It was.
It wasn't a great toss either.
Ah, well.
So that's my unboxing,
Well, that was fantastic.
wasn't it?
was very
that's
exciting.
gold. We're
It was
gonna-
exciting.
We'll definitely use that as a part of the bonus materials of our next anniversary show, I'm sure.